From World of Concrete 2018, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Mike Ireland, who's the new president of the Portland Cement Association.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. I know you've got a busy show.
We have a busy show.
And I'm happy that you stopped by to impart your message.
Oh, thank you for having me stop by.
Well, let me tell you, what are some of the impacts facing PCA this year?
Well, you know, PCA, we certainly have things that I'll talk a little bit about what's facing us this year, but PCA's been around for 100 years.
Yes.
And very, very impressive. As I walked into the PCA building, I looked at PCA like in the 50s and 60s, maybe the heyday.
Right.
We had over 650 employees at PCA scattered around the United States. There's posters of Bob Hope and his Ford Fairlane out on the interstate system promoting concrete. So we've been around. We've been advocating and supporting and doing research and everything really on concrete. So what we're trying to do kind of now, we've kind of been living in our yearly battles in a sense. What are the things, what are the threats like the wood industry and those kind of things, and those are things we look at. We're also trying to take kind of a longer term view as well. What's going to be the next 100 years? Where does concrete play in this brave new world of the Internet of Things and advanced manufacturing and AI and all those? We think that this material, more than any other building material, whether you're talking about buildings or you're talking about paving, actually is the best choice for sensorization, for being able to construct with 3D printing, with cementitious material, anything. In fact, if you go over to our booth, CTL actually won an award with NASA for a 3D printed concrete design. So it's pretty exciting. We have a great industry. Public probably, we're so ubiquitous, don't realize what industry we have. We've got over 500,000 people that work in this industry that we want to take care of. We need more of them working in the industry. Obviously, that's a big issue for us this year is workforce development across the board. You know, unemployment's getting lower. We're seeing immigration, that's taking some of our skilled workers out. How do we get people really from the kindergarten age back interested into the hands-on and the skilled trade positions? So together with everybody working here, we've got to fight. And I think the other thing that's really important for PCA to look at this year, and that we're working on right now with some of the larger associations in this field, is how do we speak with one voice? How do we come together? You know, there's a lot of...
I was going to ask you that.
Yes.
Where's your take right now on the infrastructure situation?
Well, you know, we're getting a D+, right, from the American Society of Civil Engineers. And so to me, it's like, okay, we're going to throw some money at it, and we're going to move from a D+ to a C-. Well, yeah, that seems to be that. I think the infrastructure, you know, that was leaked just the other day. You know, it's somewhere probably with a $200 million spend or $200 billion spend to get to $1 trillion from some other private public funding. But that's the tip of the iceberg. You know, we should be pushing for $3 to $4 trillion. Because that will make the difference. And you look at the money that's spent there and the money that comes back from that, and the jobs that are created. That's money that's going to come back. That's going to fix the deficit. It's not a money that's coming out of the deficit. It's money that's fixed the deficit.
But to get the politicians from point A to point B...
It's the political will.
That's exactly right.
And what's really interesting on this perspective, if you look at studies of the public, they want infrastructure. The Democrats want infrastructure. You talk to the Democrats, they're willing to pay a lot on infrastructure. To me, this should have been issue number one. You know, it would have gotten the cohesiveness we needed.
Exactly.
But I think, to me, we're starting. We're glad there's going to be an infrastructure bill. We're trying to work our way to get more of that spending even out of that bill into concrete-related activity. But to me, it's not enough. We need to be pushing for more, and I think the public would be our advocate too.
There's no question. You got your challenges facing you.
We do, but I think we have to be optimistic about it. We have a great product and a great story to sell. You know, if you look at the government, you could debate all day long what the government should pay for, but since we kind of stepped into Mesopotamia and started a civilization, we've done two things. One, we spent protecting ourselves with the military. The other thing we did is we invested in infrastructure. We expect our government to build roads, to build the buildings, to give us an infrastructure. Even the farthest right guy in DC has to understand we have to spend money on those two things. They're the most critical things for our country.
No question
So
about
we've
it.
we've got a great fight. We've got a great story, and we've got great data to back that up. So
Carry on.
we're out there. We're gonna carry the torch there. So
Mike Ireland, the new president of the Portland Cement Association. So pleased that you managed to stop by and say hello and bring your message and tell us what's facing the industry this year. And hopefully next year we'll be able to sit down and say, well, we've accomplished X, Y, and maybe possibly Z.
yeah, well, we're getting there. Again, there's a lot of things we're doing. We do a number of different things, from advocacy to market development. We've got a very strong codes team. That's what we're doing here is teaching people how they can get involved in really influencing the local code.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at this last year. You look at what happened with the hurricanes. I was out in the middle of the Gulf during Irma, in a boat getting rocked around, and stepped on a stingray because the water was all churned up, and it was terrible for me. But you look at what the people that went through that,
Right.
you know, and then you look at the response. How can you go back and you look at that and you see a wood structure and go back and say, okay, here we're going to spend more money to rebuild a wood structure for you? We have a chance now, when we look at resiliency in communities like this, we've got to spend the money to educate people, but we've got to change the code so that we're building resilient houses.
Well, just like you mentioned, there's got to be a will.
Yeah,
And
there's
the
got to
will,
be.
the will we're working on.
Well-
That part we're working on.
Well, again, the money thing.
Right.
Studies show that for every $1 you spend upfront building resiliency, you're saving $6 at the end, and all the costs of having to rebuild a structure and take care of the people that are there. And the other thing we're also fighting is, what about the resilient roads? Look, you're going to have to evacuate. You've got to have strong roads for the people to get out of there. They've got to be built with concrete.
Right. Well, Mike, appreciate you stopping
Hey,
by.
no problem.
saying
It's
hello.
exciting.
Good
Thanks.
to meet you.
Thanks to be here. I
Been
can't wait to
exciting.
see where the industry's going in 50, 100 years.
What
We'll
did
have
you
this
say?
chat in
50 or
100 years. Well,
Okay, that's a deal.
all right. Take
All
care.
this from World of Concrete 2018.